uh, some some processes of your status of residency, making sure that all of your ZIDU card and everything is up to date and does not expire as you're leaving the country. So, first we're going to go over the Claire's Levers checklist. This is sort of an informal checklist. It's not an actual hard deadline or anything that Claire enforces, but it is a very good metric to look at what you're going to be doing over the next couple of months. First thing that they highlight is inform your landlord that you will be leaving. If you are in sort of teachers assisted housing, then your CO should already know that you're going to be leaving. But if you have a landlord, it's best to let them know now that you're going to be leaving around the end of July or August, depending on what your situation is. You're going to want to check your status of residency, especially you're going to want to see if your residency expires around the same time that your job or contract would end. You might need to extend your period of stay or your residency in order to allow yourself time to actually leave the country. We will get into more specifics as later in the presentation. If you have a lot of things that you're going to be taking back home with you, then you might want to have to ship those belongings. And that, depending on how you do it, it might take a lot of time. It also might take a lot of money. So please start, if you do have to take a bunch of things back, please start to plan that now. We'll talk more about that later. Uh, Claire wants you to complete the AfterJet contact information survey. This is a survey that will come around the beginning of June. That Claire wants to have your contact information, so to make sure that they can contact you as you're leaving the process, both for in case of emergencies, but also just to make sure that you're doing everything right. You might want to prepare a lot of things for your successor. We'll talk about some of those things at the end. Like you might want to make a handover document or just like prepare them, set them up for success for when they come and take your place. Uh, in around June, July-ish, you'll be starting the pension refund procedure. We'll go into that process later, more depth and detail, but that is something to keep on your radar. You might need to obtain a certificate of employment or a reference letter, both from your current employer, but also if you're looking into getting employment in Japan, you might need some of those things as well. Make sure if you're staying in Japan to forward your mail to your new address. Um, and then other things to consider are paying your bills and canceling utilities and services, such as NHK or your water, electric, all those bills that need to be canceled before you leave so that you don't get hit with any fees that you're not supposed to be paying. And then finally, dispose of your car or motorcycle. And dispose can mean one, it can mean throw away, but it could also mean sell or give away. So let's go into a little bit of a timeline. This is a very, very generalized timeline that around now, I know we're reaching the end of April, so around now into May, you're going to be wanting to get your flights sorted out. You're going to want to start budgeting. Make sure that you like maybe write out what it is you have to do in a timeline schedule, what it is that you need to have to do. Sort out all your belongings, all that sort of front heavy kind of things. The more you prepare now, the less you have to do later. But there are some things that can only be done in June and July. Such as things like in June, you'll be paying a residence tax, you'll be starting the pension refund procedure, and you might start canceling contracts around this time. And then finally in July, as you're getting ready to leave, any final bill payments, you might have to change your status of residency or your visa if your situation calls for it. Um, Before you leave, you'll also have to submit a moving out notice and do any final checks before you actually leave. And this will be done whether or not you are leaving the country or not. If you are leaving the country, then you just have to get on your flight back home. But if you are staying in Japan, you will have to submit a move-in notice once you actually move into your new place. Go through the address change, et cetera, all the other processes that are required of you for moving house. So things to do now, I mentioned them earlier, but the first one will be sorting out your flights. You're going to want to start budgeting. Even if you aren't a big like budgeter or a planner right now, I would really suggest, maybe if you don't write them down, like just look into what it is that you're going to be doing and sort of make sure that you have both the funds, the time, the energy, the wherewithal, the know-how of what to do and when to do it. And then you're going to want to sort out your belongings as well. Better to do these things now so that you're not crunching later. Going into that first point of getting your flights booked, um, Make sure that everyone you review your passport. Make sure that it's not expired. Actually, like I want people to go and open their passport, make sure it's not expired, because if it is expired and you have to go through the process to renew your passport, that takes time. And if you're trying to do that right before you're getting on your plane, you'll be in a world of trouble. So please make sure that everyone's passport is renewed, or is you're not hitting the expiration date. Make sure that you can actually leave the country. If you have not already, please discuss your return flight with your supervisor or your contracting organization right now. I believe many of you have already received a lot of paperwork regarding this or have already had discussions about this. That's great if you have. If you have not heard about this from your contracting organization, I would suggest please talking to them now. Just like bring up the conversation to them, bring up hey, we both know that I'm leaving. Can we start talking about flights, looking into sort of what we need to do to make that happen. Um, Also, you need to be aware of what you are entitled to and on what you're not entitled to. So let's go over those very briefly, real quick. In order to have your contracting organization cover your airfare back home, you have to meet three criterion. The first one is you must complete your term of appointment, this means that you must, up to the very last day that your contract stipulates, you must continue to work at your place of employment. You cannot just like leave a day early. You have to actually complete the full term of employment. The second one is that you cannot enter into another employment contract in Japan within a month after leaving JET. So even if you were to go back to your home country and then maybe 2 weeks later come back to Japan and get a job, that would disqualify you from having your contracting organization cover your airfare home. So please make sure that if you are finishing the JET program and you are going back to your home country, that you're not coming back to Japan for another job afterwards or within a month. And then finally, you need to understand that when you leave to return to your home country, it must be within 1 month of the date of the end of your contract. This is 1 month from the day after your contract ends. So, for example, if my contract were to end on July 28th, that means that from July 29th all the way to August 29th is the time frame that I have to leave before my entitlements run out. If I leave on August 30th, I am no longer entitled to my contracting organization paying for my airfare. So please be aware of that when you're scheduling. When you leave, you do have about a month worth of leeway. Make sure you do not overstay that. When you are leaving, the other thing to note is that you're entitled to transport to the nearest international airport, and also flights back from that airport to the airport that you originally departed from when you joined the JET program via the most reasonable route. The one thing to note about this is that your contracting organization does have some sort of sway or influence on what most reasonable route entails. And so you will have to sort of, play ball with them a little bit on that regard. But for most instances, the nearest international airport will either be something like Narita, Haneda, or maybe Osaka. But you going back to your original airport from when you departed joining the JET program is roughly the guideline of where they will take you back. So this might not be the most convenient for everybody. For example, in America, I'm from Montana, and my closest international airport when I departed to join the JET program was Seattle, which is pretty far away. When I leave the JET program, they will take me back to Seattle, and I will have to figure out on my own how to get from Seattle back to Montana. So they're not taking you back home per se. They would just take you back to that original airport. So please keep that in mind that you will have to sort of budget accordingly if you have to go from that airport you departed from back home. Next up is the jet return travel itinerary. This is the official paperwork that you're going to have to fill out in order to get this airfare booked and also covered. You will have to fill out this form and submit it by the due date designated by your CO. Your CO is the one that designates this. There is no universal timeline of when this is due. So if you have already received this from them and you have a deadline from them, please make sure to meet that deadline. If you have not received it from them, please start talking to them now. Once this is submitted and approved, they will make the proper arrangements according to the itinerary, but you will go over with your supervisor what exactly that itinerary should look like, especially with the previous guidelines of most reasonable route. Next up, that's everything regarding flights. So now we want to talk a little bit about budgeting. I feel like this is somewhat of a self-explanatory thing, but sort of just like make sure that you know what it is that is coming up. A lot of this will be covered in this presentation, but some of the things to note financially is that there are going to be residence taxes, there might be car taxes, shipping costs, cancellation fees. We put presents in here because it's an optional thing, but many times when people are leaving employment in Japan, they get all of their coworkers presents. You might also, as a sort of sign of thanks, you might also want to bring souvenirs or omiyage back to your home country. In which case, depending on how much you spend, that might be worth budgeting, how much you spend on presents and things like that. Your apartment might mandate the cleaning fee before you leave. And then anything else that you might need for people staying in Japan, you might need a new apartment deposit, key money. And then for anyone, if you're leaving like within that month time frame, you might want to do a little bit of tourism, how much money you're going to need for tourism before you leave the program. Here we have a little bit of an idea of what budgeting might look like. Just to sign, have about 3 months left, April, May, June, and July. Sort of what expenses you have, how much they're going to cost, and when they're due. So just kind of, general overview. Here's an example of something that you might do for right now. So if you have, if you're going to budget a lot of money for getting all of your coworkers presents, please make sure that you understand when you're going to be getting those presents, how much you're going to be spending on presents. You might want to know if how much your return flight is. Most of you will have this return flight covered by your contracting organization, but for whatever reason, it is not covered by your contracting organization because of you may not meet some of the criterion. Then you might have to budget accordingly how much this airfare is going to cost to go back home. Trash is another thing that is going to cost money. So please make sure that you cannot just throw a lot of things that you're going to be throwing away are not for free. So please make sure that you understand about how much that you're going to be spending on throwing stuff away. Sending things home, especially if they're large items or a lot of items, shipping costs are going to be pretty expensive, especially unfortunately for all the Americans in the room. So please make sure that you budget accordingly for that. And then, of course, you still have to pay rent and utilities like you have been up until now. So please make sure that you still have money for those up until the very end of your contract. June is pretty similar, except this is where you're going to start dealing with things like the car tax, the residence tax, and you might have to cancel contracts like NHK, even though these are things are free. It might be a good idea to put it on your budgeting sheet anyway, just so you know you do it, so you don't forget, as you're going through June. And of course, once again, rent and utilities. Finally, July is probably going to be the least amount of things that you have to worry about, but they are still important. Things like canceling your phone contract, the department cleaning I talked about, and your standard rent and utilities. So then, as you're doing that, as you're budgeting, we also want you to start sorting out your belongings. This is going to be, things like finding out what is yours. A lot of you have inherited your apartments from other people beforehand, so we want to make sure that you know what it is yours, what you brought, what belongs to you, what you bought while you were on the program, and what either belonged to the person before you, and if they did belong to the person before you, do you now own that? Did you inherit it? Or if many of you are in teacher housing, is the things in your apartment, does that belong to your contracting organization instead? You also need to figure out what it is you're taking with you and what you're more importantly not taking with you. So anything that you're not taking with you, you need to figure out what you're doing with it. Are you going to be selling it to somebody? Are you going to be giving it away? Are you going to be throwing it away? Please make sure that you sort of organize that. You don't have to put everything in boxes, tomorrow, but just kind of have a nice idea of what it is that you are and are not going to be taking back with you. For people who are sending things abroad, first I'm going to go over the general sort of what everyone has to deal with, and then we'll get into a few more specific use cases and how those have changed in the last couple of weeks. Japan Post is a pretty safe bet for a lot of people that are sending things abroad. There are a couple of different options. You have, airmail, surface, and economy. As you can see, the biggest trade-off is that some of these are really fast, but they're super expensive. Some of them take a long time, but they're pretty cheap. And some of them kind of are a balance between the two. There are also some weight limits on some of these, so please make sure that anything that you're sending falls within these weight limits. Other than Japan Post, there's also Yamato Kuro Neko International Takkyu Bin. They have a max weight of 25, but they are pretty trusted. A lot of people have used them in the past. This is a potential option. It's a little more expensive, but it might be a little more peace of mind. It's to just put it in your suitcase, Maybe even it might be worth it to like buy an extra suitcase put a lot of your stuff in there. You can fit a lot of stuff in an oversized or overweight bag, and you'll just have to check it into the airport when you fly. Um, you might be hit with a couple of fees and stuff like that, but depending on what your situation is, it might be more worth it for you. That'll be something that each of you have to figure out sort of on your own. Um, each country also has different custom restrictions. I'm not able to sort of give general advice about figuring out what your own country's custom restrictions are, what you can and cannot bring back to your home, and please make sure to follow the laws of your country. And then for packing and stuff like that, if people don't have boxes readily available to them or they don't want to buy a bunch of new cardboard boxes, a lot of the times you can go to supermarkets and just ask, hey, can we take some of the boxes that you're not using or you've thrown away or whatever, and they might give those to you for free, which might be helpful for packing and stuff like that. One thing to note, though, going back over all of these, for Japan Post specifically, I don't know if many Americans knew about this, but for many from like August of last year or something like that, Japan Post just was not taking American shipping. They just were not going to ship to the States. They weren't touching it. The taxes or the tariffs were sort of the laws regarding them were kind of unclear, and Japan Post did not want to deal with that at the moment. As of about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks, they've now lifted that restriction, so they are now allowing shipping back to the United States. But the things to note are that you, the customer, are going to have to pay the tariffs on anything that you ship over, and you also and please do your own research on this because this information is so new. It's subject to change. Maybe Japan Post will send an update by next week or in the coming months as you're figuring these out. But as of right now, the what I understand is that you will uh, Japan Post will recommend an app to you. You'll download that app. You'll go through that app's process of marking everything that you're going to be sending over. It will do all the calculations necessary for how much that's going to cost in terms of tariffs. You'll print out this receipt or whatever from the app, and you'll bring that with you when you go to Japan Post to send all of your belongings, and you'll go through the process there. It also means that you will have to pay all the tariffs ahead of time before it gets sent. So please understand that you'll have to pay up front. In terms of moving out and shipping and stuff like that, Akita JetWiki has a lot of relevant information. They make it very easy to understand kind of what the normal procedures are and sort of what to expect. So please reference them as you start to look into what the process is going to look like. They have a bunch of very useful information. Here's sort of an example price of what maybe roughly to expect as you're starting to make a budget for shipping stuff back home. As you can see, documents and other smaller items are going to be much cheaper. Um, Japan Post, I believe, has a calculator that you can go onto their website. If you just put in like Japan Post Calculator International or something like that, it should come up. But from their homepage, if you go to International Mail and then you go to check rates and delivery days, that will be where you can find the calculator. You'll put in, what service you're using, how fast you want it to go, where you're delivering to, the weight limit, things like that, and it will kind of spit out a number at you, like here, where it'd be like, oh, if you go through EMS, which is the economy, it's going to be 75,000 yen over 13 days. I've included at the bottom that surface mail. This is the slower one. This takes about 2 to 3 months. So if you want it to arrive in your home country on time, you're gonna want to start looking into that now and start shipping things now. But it is the most you have available to you. So please look into that for your own situation. For shipping large volumes of items, you might want to reach out to different companies to get different quotes for your needs. Not all companies are going to treat large volumes the same. So depending on what your situation is and what is most convenient for you, you might want to look into multiple companies at once. So please do research for your own situation in that regard. Some companies to look into as you're doing that are things like Nippon Express, Yamato Kuro Neko, Japan Luggage Express, and I'm sure there are others, but these are pretty big companies that are pretty widely trusted. And I recommend making arrangements for at least 1 month in advance so that you're not trying to do this, really hastily before you're leaving and, potentially get screwed out of being able to finish the process and having your stuff stuck in Japan. Here's the shipping example of using Kuroneko. So you can see they have three different courses that they offer that provide different materials, different sizes, different weights. And so look into which one is most effective or most convenient for your situation. And then going into the next slide, you can see that as an example, if we were to try and ship to the United States in New York, the minimum, regular, and extra cost a little bit different per course. It's approximately 90 to 120 days. And they will, from their branch office in New York, they will deliver anywhere within a 100-kilometer radius of that office. So if you are outside of that 100-kilometer radius, you will have to arrange a different form of pickup. Oh, interesting. Um, So for moving in within Japan, if you are not leaving the country and you are moving within Japan, if you're one of the leavers that is staying, you might have to hire a moving company if you're moving enough stuff between your current house and your new house. Some popular moving companies include Sakai Art Incorporation, which I believe is also known as 0123. There is also Arisama no Hikoshisha. So please look into which one of these might be best. I would highly recommend that you get quotes from multiple companies to get the best deal. The reason you want to do this is that a lot of these companies are in competition with each other. And so even if if the first company that you go to it's super great, super convenient, they're willing to work with you, it's just absolutely ideal. I would still go to another company, get a quote from them, show them the first company you went to, and because they're in competition, they might significantly mark down their price and then take that quote back to the first company and be like, hey, this other company, is willing to do this for X amount of money, and they might, bargain and drop their price, significantly, which will save you a lot of money. So please make sure to talk to multiple companies in order to get that deal. If you have no like super large items like furniture and other things to be moving, then Japan Post is also a decently affordable way to move some of your belongings. Uh, but obviously, a moving company would be better for things like couches or other large, very large items. For anything that you're not taking with you, you need to know what you can and cannot dispose of. Find out what the collection dates in advance are for some of the items that you're going to be throwing away. There are some things, just aren't like regular combustible garbage that has special limitations or they only pick up on certain days. Make sure that you understand what those days are and plan accordingly. Anything that is combustible, but it does not fit in a 45-liter bag is considered soldaigomi or very like large trash. You're going to have to probably get a sticker from either a convenience store or some local municipality office in order to designate it as Seoul Daigomi. And then you'll have to get that figured out, delivered, or have it somebody come and pick it up to dispose of it. Anything that is made of non-burnable material like glass, metal, etc., is considered shigengomi. This is another thing that you're going to have to work out with your municipality to come and pick up and dispose of. Some large items are unable to be collected by the city. Most of these things are going to include things like your air conditioner, your refrigerator, your washing machine, basically like household appliances that you bought from a company. Rather than the municipality getting rid of these, typically speaking, the company that you bought the item from is going to be the one that has to get rid of it. So if you bought a new washing machine that you're not going to be bringing with you either back home or to your new apartment if you're moving in Japan, please make sure to contact the company that you bought the washing machine from so that you can get rid of it. They'll come and arrange a day to pick it back up. All of these rules are highly dependent on location. So please, your supervisor is probably going to be the best resource that you have in order to figure out, what needs to be thrown away on what day, what type of things that you can and cannot throw away, where. So a lot of these might be, you might have to look into your own municipality's situation, rules, regulations, and probably your supervisor is going to be a really good, helpful resource to figure out a lot of those things for that. So please consult them. If you're not going to be throwing things away, but you're going to be selling them instead, one of the things to note is that there's a lot of Facebook groups out there that you can sell to. It might be worth it to when you get in contact with your successor, you might be able to either sell or just like give them a lot of the things that you don't want to take with you. There might be jets in the area around you that are willing to take a lot of the things that you have. So please start looking into those things now as you know, actually selling and stuff like that can take a while, depending on what avenue you're pursuing. For things like clothes and stuff, there's a lot of collection points, a lot of secondhand stores and stuff like that that you might be able to sell to or give to. Same thing with like books and stuff like that. You can give them to a library, book off, other third party stores and stuff like that will uh, likely take your stuff. Um, you can also sell online. There's a couple of different options like Jimity, Mercari, Yahoo Auctions, Facebook, things like that might be very nice depending on what it is you're selling and how how in demand it is. There are other things like recycle shops. You might be able to sell some of your items here for money. Sometimes they might not give you money, but they will just take it, off your hands, which, if you're at the end of your rope, this might be a, great option to just like get rid of things so you don't have to worry about throwing it away or going through all the logistics hoops and hurdles for dealing with that. So please contact recycle shops if that's something that you need to consider. If you are transferring a car title, if you're selling your car to somebody, the process is pretty simple as the seller yourself. The only thing you're going to need is your Shaken certificate. And if it's not a K car, then you're going to need your Jitsuin, which is your registered stamp, and you're going to need your Jitsuin certificate, which proves that certificate is legitimate. Like I said, if you have a K car and you are selling a K car, these last two things are not going to be necessary, which is very hassle-free. If you're not selling a K car, please bring these things to the Kochi Land Transport Branch office with the person that you are transferring it to and deal with all of the paperwork and procedures there when you do that. If you are selling a K car, then instead you will go to the Kochi Light Motor Vehicle Inspection Center for those procedures. You will also again go with the person that you are selling to. For disposing of a car, if you're either unable to sell your car, you're not planning to sell your car, and you're not keeping your car, you're going to definitely want to dispose of it. If you do not get rid of your car, you will still have to pay some fees on these. So please make sure to get rid of it if you're not selling it or you're not keeping it. If you did purchase a car in Japan, then you almost certainly paid what is known as a recycling fee. Because you have paid this fee, you just have to take your car to the proper disposal facility, stamp some forms, and your car is considered disposed of. You no longer have to worry about it. You could potentially get some money back for your car. Cases differ. I can't make any promises that you will, but it is a possibility. If this is something that you are looking into, then please look up the term Haisha Kaitori, which I provided the Japanese here on the slide. One other thing to note, I'll say it a couple of times during the presentation, but we will be posting this to the PA website. So maybe, if you want to take a picture, please feel free. Yeah, but it will be available on the PA website after today's conference is over. So you can look it up there. Um, yeah, and like I said, please make sure to dispose of it because we don't want you paying fees on a car that you technically no longer own or are no longer using. To do this, you're going to need a couple of things. You're going to need your vehicle inspection certificate. You're going to need an automobile tax certificate. If you don't have this, if you lost it, you can get it reissued at a Kochi tax office. You'll need your Incon, and you'll need your Incon certificate, which is this little item posted up in the top right. For canceling contracts, if you live in private housing, like we said earlier, please let your landlord know that you're leaving. It's written here 1 month in advance. I would even suggest letting them know now, just to kind of give them a heads up. If you don't speak any Japanese or your landlord doesn't speak any English, please go through your supervisor or your contracting organization. They should be able to help you communicate on your behalf. Other contracts that you might have to cancel as you go forward is credit cards, debit cards, banking information, anything regarding that. NHK, you might have to get rid of that one as well. Any phone bills or anything like that. A lot of these things you can set dates in advance for when you want the service to stop, and it's just going to be an automatic process, but you will have to set those up. Please note that for some services, there might be a cancellation fee that you might have to budget for. Let's get into a little bit of the residence tax. This is going to be a bill that comes to you in around June. There's not a set date on when this comes in, but it's going to be kind of around the June-ish timeline. The thing to note is that because all of you were working here in Japan on January 1st, 2026, you are now liable for the residence tax or the inhabitant tax for the 2025 year. And because it takes a lot of time for Japan to sort of accumulate and collect all the data for this tax information, the residence tax for the 2025 year doesn't come until around June. So that's why it comes in so late. But the notice of that will come somewhere in that time frame. So please know that you do have a large amount of money that will have to be spent on taxes right around that time. Now let's get into the pension refund. I'm sure this is going to be something a lot of people are very interested in, so I'll try and make it as concise and understood as possible. First, the thing to understand is that all foreign residents who pay into the national pension system, which you all do by virtue of being on the JET program, when you leave the country, you are eligible for a refund. One thing to note is that refund only includes up to 5 years of employment in Japan. For any of you that started, just like this is your first time in Japan or you came from another country before coming to Japan, this isn't going to matter because there's only 5 years on the JET program. But for anybody that is staying in Japan and will be working longer than 5 years after having worked on the JET program, please understand that when you leave the country, you are only eligible for up to 5 years of the pension refund. It's not the entirety of your work in Japan, only backwards of 5 years. Before you leave Japan, you have to submit a moving out notice. This will be done just automatically by virtue of moving out. This is one of the things that you'll have to do. So this will be included when you do that. But as you do that, understand that you will have to declare a tax representative. We'll get into more information about what a tax representative is, what they do, and who you should opt or declare as your tax representative. But please be aware that this is something that you do have to formally put in writing about who your tax representative is. This is all optional, but you can get an updated certificate of residence. This is just to prove that you were in Japan during the stated time. Just might be an extra helpful thing to have in your arsenal if complications arise. Here's a big old chart of what the process looks like. I'll go through kind of an overview of what this is, and we'll go into the nitty-gritty of all the different stages in more detail here in a moment. But like I said, so you have, let's just theoretically assume that you have 5 years worth of pension payments that you have paid into the system. When you leave the country, you and your tax representative will go to the tax office. You'll declare your tax representative. You'll fill out all the paperwork. And then the pension office will accept that and they'll process it on their end. Then when you go back to your country, about maybe 6 months later, this is a process that is going to take a lot of time. About 6 months later, you will receive 80% of the pension. So you're not going to receive the full pension. You're going to receive about 80% of the pension as just a deposit in your bank account. Then once that comes in, there's going to be some separate paperwork that comes with it. You're going to fill out that paperwork. I would highly suggest making copies of it, but you have to send the original file back to Japan. And then once those files reach Japan again, your tax representative is going to take those files. They're going to go back to the same tax office, the same pension office that you registered them at. They're going to file all the things on their end, and then the pension office will submit or they'll directly deposit the remaining 20% of the pension fund to your tax representative. So it goes not to you, but to your tax representative. Then it is the responsibility of the tax representative to send that 20% back to you. So your tax representative is someone that you need to trust to handle your money and somebody that you have a pretty good relationship with. I would also probably suggest this be somebody that is either Japanese or fluent in Japanese, as they have to go through a lot of the legal proceedings and fill out a bunch of complicated Japanese paperwork. So please make sure that they can handle that. But once that's done, once they send that money to you. You have now officially received all two. Another thing to note is that you have to fill out this pension fund paperwork, I believe within about a 2-year time frame. If you do not fill out this paperwork within a 2-year time frame, you waive your right to receive the pension fund. So please do not put this off, or otherwise you will lose a lot of money. Getting into it specifically, this is just a more in-depth breakdown of what we just went over. But yeah, you'll have to assign a tax representative. Most often, this is a supervisor. It doesn't have to necessarily be your supervisor, but like I said, they should probably be someone that you trust to give you your money because they're going to be the ones that's responsible for getting your money back. The other thing that is very important, they have to be in Japan, and they have to be in Japan when you file your paperwork 6 months after you return home. So this is you have to declare somebody that's you know, excuse me, somebody that you know is going to be in Japan for a long time, or at least about a year, maybe. Like I said earlier, Japanese ability isn't a requirement, but it is highly recommended that your representative speaks Japanese, or at least can survive all of the very difficult, confusing paperwork that would be required of them. Wow, hold on one moment. Apologies for that. I am getting over a cold, so my throat is a little bit sore. Um, Here's an example of what the paperwork is for assigning a tax representative. So this will be something that will be done at the tax office. But here's just to give you kind of an idea of what it'll look like, just so you're not blindsided when you actually receive it. One of the things that you're going to need in order to receive your pension fund is a basic pension number. This is I've You'll need that number, which the Japanese there is written for anyone that might want to use it to reference. Um, for any of you that arrived in Japan in 2021 or earlier, so I believe this is probably any fifth year jets and maybe even some fourth year jets, you very likely received, or you should have received, a pension book, which is this little blue book here on the side. It should have your BPN written inside of it. If you arrived in 2022 or later, the pension book was discontinued, and you will either receive a BPN notice card that will have your number written on it, or in the event that this somehow doesn't make its way to you or you misplace it or something like that, it can also be accessed via your My Number card, at which point you'll just have to go to your municipal office, give them your My Number card and be like, hey, can you tell me what my basic number or basic pension number is? And they'll be able to get that information for you. Once you fill out this process, you'll have to do some of it in Japan, like the declaring of the tax representative. But once it's that's done, the form when you come back to your own country will come to you in the mail. At which point you'll have to fill it out, fill that packet out to the best of your ability, and I would recommend making copies, but the important thing to note is that you have to send the original document back. Do not send the copies back. Please send the original document back to Japan. Once that's done, your tax representative will collect that remaining 20%, and then they will send it back to you. A more detailed explanation of this process is here on this QR code. You can either take a picture of it right now, or like I said, we will be posting this after the conference is over, so please reference it then. For moving money from the tax representative to you, there's a couple different ways that you can move money. Obviously, they can receive it in cash, and then they can just mail this money to you. If for whatever reason you don't trust the mailing system or you think that maybe that's a little bit, dangerous, there are also online or, ways to transfer money remotely, either through apps like GoRemit or Wise. Personally, I use Wise. I've found that it's very pretty helpful, pretty easy to use. But anything other than these is also fine so long as you trust it. That's everything about the basic pension refund. Now we're going to get into your residence card and anything regarding your status of residence. Oh, one thing I will say is that disclaimer, the PA team is not experts on immigration procedure. As you heard earlier, Coco Fore specializes in a lot of these procedures much better than we do. So if there's any, complications or very, details that you're not unsure of or want more questions or you have more questions about and you want answers for, please feel free to go and talk to them. I'm sure they'd be delighted to help you. So uh, please use them as a resource. Um, so one of the most important things is to make sure that your status of residency does not expire. So if the end of your contract is basically like the same day as when your residency would expire, then you cannot like leave the country because your visa or your residency has expired. And so you might have to switch to either a temporary visa or some other residency status in order to be able to return home legally. Another thing to consider is that, if you're leaving Japan, you might just need a temporary window, but if you're staying in Japan, you might also have to completely change your status of residency and go through all of that paperwork and procedures ahead of time. Maybe you'll have to do it when you move, but please be aware of what your situation is and how you need to affect your residency status. Um, If we'll go over people leaving Japan first. We'll come back to people staying in Japan in here in a moment. But some of these things are good to know, no matter which side of the which way you're going. So please listen attentively. First, for the if you need a period of stay with an extension, if your residency expires and you are moving, if your flight is after this expires, you might need to extend your period of stay. You can apply for this up to 3 months before the residency expires. Um, if it doesn't expire, lucky for you, you don't need to do anything. Just make sure that you know which of those two it is. Um, if you're going to be staying in Japan to do sightseeing or you need more time to prepare or whatever it is, um, you can switch your status of residency to a temporary visitor for up to 90 days, which is plenty in order to stay within that 1 month window you have for your airfare. You can apply for this up to 2 weeks before your contract ends, but please be aware that you cannot work on a temporary visa status of residence. So even stuff like freelance, you cannot be doing that on a temporary visitor visa. Any of these processes requires visits to the immigration office and will cost around 4,000 yen. So please be aware that this is something that is not free to do, that you will have to pay a little bit of money. If you have a period of stay without an extension, like I said, you don't need to do anything if you're going to just be leaving within the deadline. You do have to still inform immigration of a change in employment status within 2 weeks. And then you can stay in Japan for 90 days without working or longer if you can provide justifiable reason. So say you're taking care of yourself, your own return fare home outside of that 1 month window that is provided by the CO's deadline. If you're going to be going beyond that and you're going to be taking care of your own flight back home, please be aware that you still have a 90-day temporary visa option, but you can potentially extend this with justifiable reason. But this is a case-by-case basis, and if you need to stay longer, you're going to have to talk to an immigration agency to do so. So please be aware of that. For anyone staying in Japan, your current sort of status of residency for any ALTs is an instructor, and for CIRs, you are an engineer/specialist in the humanities and international services. If you are seeking employment in Japan, you might need to change your status of residence. So if you're an ALT and you are getting a job in something that is not an instructor, then you will have to change your status of residency to reflect your new job. If anybody is seeking higher education in Japan, you're going to have to change your visa status or status of residency to a student. And any of these changes have to be made or informed. You have to inform the immigration of a change of employment within 2 weeks of when it would change or expire. For a period of stay, if you have a period of stay and you need an extension, um, for people staying in Japan and specifically for those that are looking for work, do not switch to a temporary visitor status. if you plan to work or study in Japan. There's a couple of penalties that you might get hit with because of that. There's also if you are attempting to become a permanent resident in Japan, you have to have, I think, 10 years of consistent living experience in Japan, and switching to a temporary visa will completely wipe that clean, and you'll have to start over from zero again. Depending on your circumstances and your needs, there are designated activities or J-Find visas that may be worth considering. These do come with restrictions. For example, the J-Find visa is you have to have graduated from a university that is considered, I believe, in the top 200 universities in the world by 2 out of 3 metrics. And there's more information that you can find from the uh, Japanese Immigration Agency regarding that. And designated activities, I believe, is up to 6 months that you can apply for this, but there are a couple of restrictions, so please look into whether or not these apply for your situation. If you are working, getting a job in Japan, and it's the same status of residence, you could also still apply for an extension for a period of stay. Um, so this process does take a little bit of time, so please make sure to do this ahead of time. If you're going to be changing, you need to do this as soon as your employment is confirmed, and this process can take up to 1 to 3 months. So please make sure that you plan accordingly and do this earlier rather than later. For people staying in Japan, if you are moving in, please make sure that when you move, that you go to your new municipality's office to submit a move-in notice. Please make sure that you update your address for everything that it would need, such as your bank, your phone, driver's license. Your residency will be included in this, but make sure that anything that uses your address is updated to reflect your new apartment or location. Also, make sure to set up mail forwarding so that all the mail that would go to your current residence instead goes to your new residence, so you don't miss any important mail. Insurance for anybody that is obviously not continuing on the JET program, you're going to be losing out on the JET insurance, and so you'll need to switch to national insurance. In order to do this, you're going to need a loss of qualification certification. The unfortunate thing about this is that you cannot get this form until you've officially left your post. So until your contract actually ends, you cannot apply for this form. And this form can take anywhere from a day to a couple of weeks to arrive. So be aware that there is a possibility that you might be just without insurance for some time between the end of your contract and whenever you can get national insurance filled out. As soon as you get this form, however, take it to your local city hall to then apply for national insurance and go through the procedure with them there. If your new job requires a police check, this will be something that you have to do here in Kochi. This is, if you need the Japanese, is a Hanzai Keireki Shoumeisho. The Japanese is there in case you need it for reference. This requires 2 trips to the prefectural police station in Kochi City. One thing that I will say right now is that you need to call ahead in order to do this. So this is not something that you can do in a walk-in. So you will have to you will have to reserve time to do this. You can also do this through the Japanese embassy in your home country. This might be easier for some people, but please be aware that you can only do one or the other. You cannot do both. If you are, going through the process with the Japanese embassy and then you go to the Kochi police station or the prefectural police station, they will turn you down for completing this paperwork. So you can only do one or the other. For the police check, what you need to prepare is you need a letter from your place of employment, your new place of employment, exclaiming why they're requiring this police check. English is fine for this reason if you're working with like an English company, but that you need a reason from your employer. You will also need your passport, and this cannot be a scan or a copy of your passport. It must be your passport itself. Same thing with you need your residence card, and it must be the residence card itself, not a copy of it. And then you'll need a Kochi Prefecture 420 yen revenue stamp. These are something that the prefectural police station does not sell. So you'll have to get them at a post office or somewhere else that sells them. But please make sure to have this before you go in. Um, so yeah, you can only apply in person. Uh, you cannot go through a website or any online portal. They are open Monday through Friday between 9 to 11:30. Then they take a 2-hour break and reopen at 1:30 and are open up until 4. So you might have to take some NenQ or time off in order to make it to these, and you will have to do that twice. The police website, if you look at it, it says that it'll take about 30 minutes to an hour in order to complete this process, but please be aware that it could take longer. And it will take anywhere from a week and 10 days to get the certificate, at which you will need to pick it up again in person. So this is the first visit is to go and get the police check or to go through the process and the paperwork. Uh, and then the second visit will be in order to actually pick up that information. Um, I couldn't find any information about how much this process costs. So I would suggest maybe taking about 5,000 yen with you just in case. You might need a little bit more. You might need a little bit less, but this is more than likely not a free process. So please be aware of that. Fingerprints. Fingerprints is something that you'll get done as you go through this police check process. But you can also do this just on its own if for whatever reason you need it. Um, if you do just want fingerprints or your employer requires fingerprints, but not the whole police check, you can also just go back to the Kochi Prefectural Police Station in advance, and they will let you know what documents you need and what the necessary steps are. You might have to bring in your own paperwork, though, so please be aware of that. Before you leave, make sure that you submit your moving out notice. So even if you are moving, if you're leaving the JET program and you're staying in the same municipality, but you're just moving houses, you still have to submit a moving out notice. So this is going to be something about 14 days, 2 weeks before you move out. This is something that you have to do, and everyone will have to do it. This is done at your municipal office. Your supervisor should be able to help you out if you don't know what to do. After this, you'll be issued a moving out certificate just to prove that you are moving out. Please make sure that when you do this process, you bring your residency card, your insurance card, and your seal registration card. Organizing any final bill payments, like I said during the budgeting section, just make sure that you end with a clean slate. Make sure that you don't have anything that is overdue or anything that you'll get hit with after you move out. A lot of these things you can set a date in advance for when you want a service to be stopped. Your supervisor can probably help you with a lot of the things that are included in, say, your housing, such as bills like water, gas, electricity, maybe car insurance, internet, phone, etc. We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but also we would really like it if you could help prepare, your successor. When your successor comes into the JET program, they're also very nervous. For many of them, this is their first time in Japan. Maybe some of them it's their first time ever leaving their own country. Maybe some of you were also very nervous when you came into the JET program. So we'd really appreciate it if you took some time to help make it as smooth of a transition as possible. Be kind to them, be helpful to them. Some of the ways that you can do that is that, when you're able to get into contact with them, which will be probably around the end of May, please get into contact them once you get permission. Start talking to them, start figuring out, coordinating anything. Any questions that they have, please answer. Be proactive. That would be, greatly appreciated. This is something that you do have to do. Claire has essential information from outgoing to incoming JET program participants. This form can be found on the 2026-2027 General Information Handbook on pages 101 to 103. So please, this is shorter than previous years, so this is pretty helpful, but please fill out this form and make sure that your successor gets it. Everything else is optional, but we encourage you to write a handover document for your successor. We'll go over what a handover document might entail next. But sort out important documents in your desk. Label them. Make a Google map for them with important locations. This might include like evacuation points, really essential information like that. But it can also be like, man, this is a really nice restaurant. This is my favorite restaurant in the area. Things like that might be really helpful to a new jet. Make sure you clean your apartment. You want to provide them a nice clean apartment when they come in, especially if they're moving into the same place. Take a video of your house. A lot of people, it's nice to kind of know what it is they're walking into. And create English instructions for household appliances. A lot of appliances will just have, Japanese, and many jets don't have the Japanese capability when they first come to manage a lot of these things. And sometimes, these household appliances are just different from their native counterparts back in their own home. So please, be helpful. Maybe create some instructions for them that'll be help them do that. For a handover document, some things like a self-introduction might be nice if you're amenable to it, if you're willing to stay in contact with the jet even after they move in. Maybe some contact information might be nice. We don't mandate that, but depending on how available you want to be, might be a nice thing to include. It's helpful to include maybe what to bring, what not to bring. Some things you don't need in Japan, some things you definitely need in Japan, and not everybody knows those things. So that might be helpful to include. Information about the workplace, what the schedule's like, what to expect, dress code, things like that. About what the job is like, what a typical day looks like, for ALTs, what are your students like? Do you have to ride a bike? Do you have to take the train? Do you have to, what do you have to do to get to work? Stuff about the area, what's it famous for? What events are going on? What kind of activities can you join? What are the other jets in your area like? Bus schedule if they're not bringing a car. Stuff about the house, like I said, you can have English instructions for the appliance, but also just like, how many rooms, what's the rent like, what kind of furniture are you leaving behind? Um, an explanation of bills, if it's deducted from your bank account, if you have to go to a municipal office to pay rent and stuff like that, just to kind of give them an idea of what to expect, and just anything else that you think will be helpful. Um, One thing to note is please, don't be negative. I know not all of you have had perfect experiences with all of these things, regarding the jet experience. But we really want to sort of like let a new jet sort of come to their own conclusions about something. I do think that if there's like a thing that is a real concern about a certain like a living situation or a job or something like that, please, feel free to let the new jet know about those things, but try to be as neutral as possible. Set them up to kind of know what to expect, set them up for success, but let them come to their own decisions. Finally, additional resources. The Kochi Reservoir, which is the PA website. Uh, there's a bunch of information on the PA website about everything that we just covered. Like I said, we'll also have this presentation uploaded to the PA website after this conference is done. So you're always welcome to come back and reference this document later. Uh, like I said earlier, the Akita Jet Wiki has a lot of in-depth information about the moving out process. They also have some other information regarding just generally, moving out and getting ready to leave. Kokofore is a great resource, especially for stuff about the visa information. The General Information Handbook has a lot of information about what to do for leaving. Every jet goes through this every year. Claire knows exactly, what this is like, so they have a lot of relevant information. Your supervisor also knows a lot of the things, or should know a lot of things regarding your specific municipality and leaving your specific contracting organization. So please feel free to reach out to them. And of course, for anything that you're unable to figure out, always feel free to reach out to the PA team. We're more than happy to help. Um, but yeah, a lot of information. Thank you for listening. I apologize for my voice getting shot there right at the end. But we will have please note that we'll have a Q&A section at the end. So any questions that you have, please like write them down now. Hold on to them. We will answer all questions at the end of the conference today. We will not be taking any questions as of right now, but we will have a dedicated time for that later. So please feel free to ask us any questions at the designated Q&A time. That's everything from me. Thank you very much.